Hello, here we are once again with Mookie Tenembaum. We are exploring through these videos his philosophy, his disillusionism, and his misalgic theory about human behavior as aversion to suffering. As many of you know, for a long time now, we've been trying to apply this philosophy to illustrate these abstract concepts with bits from everyday life, with facts that happen around us. We've been doing this for, I guess, more than a year now, since almost the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic that's still very much on us. But we are now under a new element in the context, which is the war in Ukraine. And today's video will have to deal with that renewed context, of course. We are, some of you already know, covering since the last two videos our relationship to others from the disillusionist point of view. We are trying to understand the concept of egosphere, which is a central concept in disillusionism. And today, under the light of the new situation, we are going to continue discussing the others within and beyond the egosphere.
Okay, first of all, let me remind you what is an egosphere. Egosphere are the 20 people in general, but it could be also objects, could be your dog, that really are around you and affect you. I think the word is affect. It is akin to the sun, who has a heliosphere. Helio is sun, the sun. So it has the planets that goes around it. The same is with the egosphere. Now, we spoke about the effect of this relationship in the last two videos, and that's not going to talk about today. We're going to talk about something else. It's called the ego pose. Now, what do I mean by ego pose? There is the sun, the planets, and everything beyond the influence of the sun. In our case, when we're talking, that's the helio pose. The ego pose will be the same. The only difference is that here we're talking about the sun affecting the planets, and here we're talking about the planets or the people affecting us. Those who are in the ego pose do not affect us, but in certain conditions, not on a daily basis, and surely not with a lasting effect. In the relation between us and the egosphere, there is computer number one, which is the body, the animal in us. Yes, and computer number two that deals with the future and the past, that means memory and thinking about the future and predicting the future. And there is also computer number three, which is the moral compass, which also intervenes in that relation. Beyond the ego pose, not the animal and probably not the computer number two are relevant. The only main actor is computer number three, and sometimes computer number one when it's being fooled. What I mean fooled means that it makes it, the computer number one, the animal, is being fooled that what it's seeing is what it is. So that's confusing the animal, and the animal gets confused. We'll talk about it in a moment. So here we have the Ukrainian war. The war in Ukraine, we are not there, definitely, unless you have parents or family or one of your members of your egosphere, or even somebody on the egosphere of one of the people in your egosphere. Let's say your sister-in-law has a brother or a cousin or a mother who is there. Then we're not talking about that. We're talking about all the nameless people we are seeing in the Ukraine. And this already happens also in Syria. We had a terrible war in Syria. Let me remind you that millions of people perished, and children. There was even chemical gas used against them. Everything, and the first thing that comes up to mind is why this war affects us so much, and not the Syrian war. And the answer, of course, is depends to whom. Yes, those who live very close to Syria, to Jordan, probably the Syrian war affected them less than the Ukrainian one. But why? And here is the main question is, why do I care more about Ukrainians than do I care more about Syrians or people in Sierra Leone? Why does it affect me? Because the word is how it affects me. And the answer is because we're animals. And we are programmed to be affected by what is close to us. Let me give you empathy. Empathy is a very good word here, used, of course, abused by a lot. Empathy really means one thing. If you see somebody being hit in the face, you will feel the pain. Empathy is a brilliant development from the evolutionary perspective, because that means that I will feel that pain even though I'm not suffering it, but I will learn from that. That would be a cheap way to learn. Yes. So this is how it works. This is empathy. Then there is the moral empathy. The empathy we should feel for people in the Ukraine or in Syria and so forth. But for some reason, we don't feel the same for both. And the answer is probably because they're blonde and blue-eyed. And those people in Syria are not blonde and blue-eyed. But on the other hand, in China, yes, they wouldn't care either. For them, they are both the same. There's some people killing to each other. I don't know what will happen to the Chinese if tomorrow there is something in Hong Kong or even in Japan or somewhere that it's close to them. So it is perceived closeness on one side, and perceived closeness not only geographically. In fact, in this world, it doesn't mean anything, because I have people who I care a lot and they're 10,000 miles away from me all the time, but culturally and physically. And this is something you don't control. You don't make a decision. I will prefer the Syrians over the Ukrainians. That doesn't happen. You may decide to give the same amount of money to both. I'm not talking about what you will do at the end, but what you feel, that you don't control. What do you say, Florencio?
I see the map that you are drawing. I see how our first computer can only deal with what is at hand, with what is present and close to it. I see how these distant matters of people, you said people who are nameless, people who we do not know by name, are the realm of the third computer, of moral consciousness and of guilt, as it were. But I wanted to take you back to the moment when you mentioned the first computer being fooled somehow, because part of what's happening is that we are seeing these people we do not know as if we knew them. We are in constant contact with their images as if they were close by, even when they are thousands of kilometers away. So I wanted to ask you about the effect that television and telecommunications and all these new social networking technologies have upon what we feel, and the way our egosphere is kind of warped and twisted because all this information gets inside.
Well, to understand it, first we have to go to very simple things. When we look at a little dog, yes, at a puppy, or even at a dog that is programmed by thousands of years of evolution to look nice to us, we may feel pity, we may feel a lot of things towards the dog. We're talking about your own dog, talking about a stray dog, yes, or a dog you see, somebody else's dog, a dog you've never seen before. Now, would you feel the same about a cockroach? Probably not. That little cockroach, little baby cockroach with the little eggs that come, you don't see that. And the answer is the same answer that I gave you before. They are not close enough. Now, the dog is hacking us. This is a hack. We're being hacked. Our program is being hacked to let us think that the dog is a person, that it is somebody. Okay, the dog is not trying to do anything. Yes, it's clear. At the table, is not trying to do anything. Yes, it's just being what is programmed to be, a dog that elicits from us feelings, which are legitimate, like every feeling, of course. No argument. But I don't see, as I say, it doesn't happen that way with cockroaches. And I'll go more. If you know that a certain animal is going to disappear, and it's the panda or it's the koala bear, that's a disaster. That is something you are going to suffer a lot. But if they tell you that this is going to be a poisonous ant or a spider, a poisonous spider, little poisonous spider that kill, or the ones that has hair, the hairy ones, yes,
with 8 eyes.
Yes, with 8 eyes and everything. Who you prefer? Who would you care? Of course, if you are an environmentalist, you say everything is connected. You blah blah blah. but what do you feel?
Mm.
So panda should have disappeared a long time ago. If it wasn't for humans, a long time ago. But we keep them. It's fine. I'm not against keeping pandas, but there is a lot of species that disappear and nobody does a lot. Bacteria. We are bacteria, viruses. I mean, those are all species. I don't hear people saying, having warm words for a bacteria. So what are we seeing there? What is that's happening to us? And that the answer is we follow our eyes and we follow what we see. Now, you asked the question, what about television? And the answer is even worse. You may see in television that a panda or a dog is being tortured. That will destroy you. You cannot see it. And you know it's a fiction. You know it is done more. It could be a cartoon. It could be a cartoon. There is no way that you could think that exists. Still, you will cry or you will laugh or you will be relieved or you will be pained by what you see in that screen. And for this purpose, the Ukraine war is exactly the same. The difference is that you know that it continues to exist, while when you leave your fiction, you turn it off. But that difference is also blurred. How many people go and just change channel and watch Dr. House or Law and Order? Period. I myself, I am not all the day looking at what's happening in the Ukraine. So the war in Ukraine, for almost everybody in the world, it's fiction. It is closer fiction if you are Western, and it's a further fiction if you are a Chinese or a guy from Indonesia. That's it. This is exactly the point. The feelings we have towards people are not. It's not. We don't decide to have feelings. There is. We talked about it many times. It's not in the hand. It's not in your hands to feel. Yes. You may hack yourself and say, "I'm going to watch a movie or a love movie so I can cry." You can do that, or even a Holocaust movie, so you cry. Yes. But even that, for your eyes are fiction, and there is a lot of people who think that, for example, the Holocaust didn't happen, not because they are under the influence of neo-Nazis, it's because they saw it on TV. The same week they saw Batman, or even something more, a movie with Bruce Willis, the same one.
We are almost out of time already. It's quite fascinating an issue. I think we will go back to this sort of confusion between fact and fiction, between what we see in our immediate surroundings and what we get through the screens, basically, through technology, through media. And we'll keep on discussing, I'm sure, the influence others have upon us, whether they are close to us and quite real in the egosphere, or whether they are far and even fictitious, even fabricated. I'm drawn by this idea that we can sort of close our eyes to whatever is happening outside, especially when it is mediated. You made me remember when I was a kid and horror movies came on TV and I would just cover my eyes and the influence they had upon me was gone. Some of this is actually happening with the news that come from the world, with all the troubles that this news brings, with the pandemic, with the war now, and so on.
Well, yes, we are confused. We live in a confused the time we are not sleeping or sleepwalking, which is very different. And by only then we get to be confused, which is also very nice. I mean, every time you wake up, you are confused. It's like waking up and see everything double, everything grainy. Yes, like you watch on TV. The confusion is something we will talk about it, I'm sure, in further videos. The confusion is part of that takes us to, as I said, people who think that the Holocaust didn't happen because they saw it in the same TV that they saw Bruce Willis and there is something else. There is a question of wanting in all this story that we will talk about it, but think about it. People want very much the Ukrainians to win, most of the people. They want the Ukrainians to win. And as they wanted Bruce Willis to stay alive. Yes. And they are accustomed that Bruce Willis stays alive at the end of the movie. What is the difference between fiction and reality? The Russians. This is going to be very different. So wanting something means nothing. We spoke about it many times. Nothing, absolutely nothing. But we got accustomed to want and to receive from Hollywood. Okay. This is what Hollywood does. It takes and it gives you back the relief, and you are relieved. You go out of the movie theater. And from this fiction or this movie, I don't think people will get relief.
We shall see. Thank you very much. Okay. See you next time.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.